Uh, over Yeah, so now you can use that digital rupee app over, UPI as well. So it's connected there as well. You can scan UPI codes.
Yeah, and even this India CBDC already doing a 2 million transaction a day, and that is on Hyperledger Fabric.
Okay, so let's move to another question. What are some of the interesting projects for the students? So Pawan,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So is it on the Hyperledger Fabric? Is it mentioned or like okay, Hyperledger project, right? Okay, so all right. So at the initial phase, if you wanted to create some kind of POCs or a small project or pilot also, you can choose as per your requirement. You can choose one of the framework which is more suited for your project. So let's talk about one use case. So you wanted to have some kind of control transaction between the different stakeholders, and for that case, Hyperledger Fabric is the one of the best framework I would say. So for creation of that POC, so you have to learn the Hyperledger Fabric. Okay, just a moment. Okay, most student-friendly Hyperledger project they are mentioning, right? Okay, yeah. So first of all, you have to be basic familiar with the Hyperledger Fabric, and you can create any kind of project. It's not something, but maybe I would suggest you to just go ahead with some kind of basic things first, like the supply chain. Different stakeholders are communicating with each other using these kind of transactions. Someone create the product, they will create a lot, they will send again to the some other stakeholders, and they can just track this everything on the blockchain. That is the first thing. Second, maybe document management, you can say, where digitally processed agreement or maybe the contracts between the stakeholders you can manage using the Hyperledger Fabric. Uh, I mean, in between different organization. That is one of. I mean, on the Hyperledger Fabric, there are a lot of use cases actually mentioned on the official site as well. You can just take any one of them, and if you feel this is really creating the value, so and you will have the learning curve again for that. You can just keep anyone, and you can start working on that. There are a lot of actually. I mean, it totally depends on your use case what you wanted to implement. Kamlesh, you would you like to add anything, or maybe Ravi?
No, I think as a use case perspective or project perspective, so I think uh, sorry, actually my kids is coming by.
Sorry?
You can.
yes, Vikram, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially, as Pawan just mentioned, I think uh, if you get the basics of blockchain, you should start from there, and then once you have done that, I think Hyperledger Fabric is a very good starting point, because it has a good community base, and there are so many solutions that are already built. You would get to see so many examples that are already out there, right? And then I guess the best example could be the logistics or track and trace that you could try and on your own. And of course the community is there to help you, right? And uh, or if not that, then probably balance transfer is again one of the good use cases. It has always been, because I started my from there, right? My journey from there, that A and B are having $10 and $20 with them, and A is transferring $5 to B. I think it's a very plain, simple, and regular use case. But again, this is something that you would end up finally end up anyhow doing. So it's a very good starting point for anyone, right? Yeah. Pawan, would
Yeah,
you want to add anything?
yeah. So maybe I would also recommend to start with the Fabric sample, which official repository we have, and every concept is clear there as well. So you can just go through the official documentation, read the README file, and just try to understand the concept. I would say on the Hyperledger Fabric, and once you are clear with the concept, so POC or pilot or maybe production grade application doesn't matter. So if you have a problem statement in your mind, you will be able to do it. I'm sure on that. Ravi, you're on mute.
There is a connected question. What are some resources apart from official documentation?
Okay. All right. So official documentation is the one of the best resource I would say. Other than that, there are some lot of, I mean, there are some articles actually on the Medium or maybe on the YouTube channel actually. I have one playlist actually. I covered all the Hyperledger Fabric concept with just a small POC. It's just kind of Fabcar only, but I just extended from the API side, and each and every concept I try to cover within the same application. Uh, so on official documentation, Hyperledger Fabric sample, they have dedicated separate folders where I just connected all of them together and created one application where API and the Hyperledger Fabric network is there. Other than there are a lot of other, I mean, maybe some blogs are there. Like Aditya also has created some of the videos on the YouTube. There are a lot of other. Maybe Kamlesh, would you like to mention some of them?
So I think other than the official document, maybe you can see Pawan Adhav's videos on YouTube channel, or Aditya also created the good videos where anyone can even learn from basics to the advanced deployment on production grade also.
And if you really are looking, okay, what is beyond that? Of course, I don't think, of course, we talked about that there are YouTube videos that you could go for. But if not, then, there are, you could also go to, Udemy courses as well, right? Udemy also have certain options. And finally, when you want to test yourself, you could also go for certification as well, just in case, anyone out there is interested. Right now, Linux Foundation is also offering 25% discount. You just have to, type a coupon code New Year 24, and you'll be able to get, the certification for cheap. Yeah.
There is technical question from Mr. Tate. Says how to handle memory management in Hyperledger Fabric. Pawan, any thoughts on this?
Okay, all right. Memory management is exactly, I did not get clearly question. Uh,
So whether he's talking about the memory management of the
resources or how is it?
files or during the processing, both are different aspects, right? One is maybe he's asking about the storage part. Then there is a many different ways, like what kind of data you are storing in blockchain. This is first, and second, now there is a archival facility available in the Fabric, so you could do the archive of the block which are not relevant. Maybe let's say 1 year old, all the data. So there is a perspective of the storage, but in memory perspective, that is totally depend the number of endorsement. Maybe like for example, let's say if you have one organization, right, and let's say if you only one peer and one endorser, so maybe it consumes so much, and maybe we are not able to handle it. Maybe you can add more endorser or more peer, and that you can distribute the compute or memory to different peers. So that totally depend
Yeah.
on which memory you talking about, and you can address like this way.
Yeah. Okay. On the one more thing, adding to the Kamlesh. So, when we're talking about this production grade application for the Hyperledger Fabric or any kind of blockchain application, so there are certain things we need to consider, right? So, as per your use case, let's consider you wanted like 1000 transactions per second. So, without that, you won't be able to. I mean, it is the requirement from the client you receive. So, during that phase, you have to analyze like how you can achieve the transactions per second using some specific configuration. So for that, you have to fine tune your network as per your criteria. So for achieving the 1000 transactions per second, so first of all, you have to take certain configuration of the machines, like maybe Kubernetes you can use, or maybe one powerful machine just for the testing purpose. And accordingly, you have to fine tune as per the policies you have. There are a lot of things we need to consider for getting some specific TPS up to that or beyond. But in some cases, if you manage to get 1000 transactions per second, but in the peak time you are getting 2000 transactions per second, and for that your system is not capable of handling 2000 transactions per second. So I would request for these kind of exceptional cases or maybe event based transactions, like maybe on only Sunday you are getting a lot of transactions, or maybe first week of the month you are getting that lot of transactions per second. So in that case, maybe we can go ahead with the messaging queue actually, and we can just put into the messaging queue and handle 1000 transactions per second at the rate. and you can handle the network load actually.
Okay. Thank you, Pavan, for your generous answer. So there are no more relevant question as of now. So Bikram, can you share some thoughts about our activities, especially in Hyperledger India chapter, what we are thinking for 2024, especially with the first quarter?
I think, Kamlesh already covered that, that we are, right now planning for multiple things. One, we are planning for women in blockchain, right? So he spoke about that. And for women in blockchain, it is, we are still in the planning phase. And if you know someone who, any woman who is doing, something and, something innovative or, leading this area, do nominate them, we would start accepting them formally, but you could of course drop in and drop a name, and so that we recognize that, and we remember that for when we start sending out invitations for women in blockchain. And ideally, what we are looking at is it could be a couple of couple of weekends where we would have various industry leaders from the women industry leaders and women developers, right? So connecting with them, understanding their views, understanding what is going on, understanding what can be done better, right? And what is being done better. So those things we would try to understand from them and gain their perspective. Also, you may be able to see some fireside chats one on one with women CEOs and heads of other leaders, right? So there could be one-on-one discussions as well. So that is what is being planned for women in blockchain. And then in addition, Ravi, is helping organize one of the hackathons at, one of the big universities, and it would be, participated by multiple colleges, right? It would be open for students from across the India, and they could, submit their ideas, and subsequently, they'll be able to, they'll be asked to build on top, right, and build some prototypes, and basis that they'll be judged, and hackathon winners would be announced, right? So that is going to happen. It is going to happen, I think. You would start hearing from us in in a week or so, right? We would start doling out more information as it materializes. And subsequently, we were, as Kamlesh mentioned, we are also thinking of organizing India Blockchain Forum as well, right? And it is going to be a big event, and preferably, we'll plan it in Hyderabad, right? Yeah. So these are some of the things that that are coming up, and that you should definitely watch out for. And the best way is to connect with us every Thursday at 3 p.m., where we discuss what is going to come up, and also discuss how we should go about it. We are very open community. I also joined this community a few years back, and I stayed connected. I got hooked, because it's a very interesting community and very interesting things that are being done here. And yeah, 5 years later, I'm still here. So I would like to see many of you as well doing that. Yeah.
Okay. So there is not question, but few people have reached out to me about they wanted to take part as a contributor, not the technical one, but in community in Hyperledger India chapter. So Kamlesh, can you share your thoughts how one can become what we call leader, take a leadership role inside Hyperledger India chapter? What is the process for anybody?
So there are two things. One is maybe actually contributing to the Hyperledger India, or other thing maybe contribute to the Hyperledger Foundation. So in the Hyperledger, we don't only just code, because we have many communities. There are different working groups. Let's say there is a climate action group, there is a finance group, there is a supply chain group, and there is even documentation group also. So what are the projects are the building where we need the stronger documents? So you can also contribute there also. So to get participate for the Hyperledger, one way, one, you can be part of the Hyperledger mentorship program. The first thing. Or second, maybe if you see the any open or any inquiry, just join the any of these working groups and get started participating. So because all we started as a participant only in all the forums. So like for example, I just when I joined the Hyperledger Climate Action SIG, I just joining as a participant, and now I lead the one of that SIG. Similarly, with the Hyperledger India, I also joined as a one of the participant like Vikram and Ravi and other people, and now I leading it. So similar thing like because when you get involved, you will get noticed, you will get some opportunity because let's say we're doing a couple of events, you will be become volunteer, you will be maybe helping us, and then slowly, let's say for example, earlier we have only two lead. Now we have 8 to 10 different leads in the India chapter, addressing the uh, different work. Let's say there's a separate event lead, there is a separate developer working group kind of thing. So similarly, when the requirement come, we could create the new groups also, and maybe we also can step down in the future when other people come and do good compared to what we're trying to do.
Okay, so the bottom line is that everybody started as a volunteer, and then based on their contribution, they were given the opportunity to kind of contribute in more structured way. So anybody who you would like to be, or you have aspiration to be a part of leadership team in Hyperledger India chapter, because this is voluntary work. It means nobody is getting paid for their contribution in Hyperledger India, inside Hyperledger India chapter. So you would be doing your work for professional gains, but the monetary gain, but as a volunteer, you can contribute to the community at large. So start with contributing in the small ways, like as Kamlesh said, that just volunteer for any event or volunteer for any documentation group, and then in this way start showing your interest, and it will be visible to people who are taking care of the activities. And if they find that okay, you are capable enough and you are showing interest, then you may be offered a kind of leadership position in Hyperledger India chapter, and this is open for everybody.
Yeah, so even I can say a story. So when Arun and myself was initially involved during the 2018 to 19, on that time Ajay Jadhav and the Amol Kulkarni was the leading chapter, and and that particular 1.5 year, actually we did more work compared to those leaders on that time. Maybe new initiative and new things. So later they think like, why not you guys now take care? Maybe we are not able to, I mean, we're not able to give the time due to our activities. So maybe you can lead. Similarly, for example, if anyone, any what are the existing leaders, if they're doing good, or maybe new people doing good, not doing good, then maybe someone can definitely recommend you to be take part in. And one example also, let's say recently we removed the one lead and added the new lead. So that is always, it's not like a private owned company. So if someone become a lead, is always a lead.
Okay. Pawan, there is a technical questions for you. What encryption method is used in Hyperledger Fabric?
Encryption method, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So when we are invoking any kind of transaction as a user, first thing, so maybe I will just go through the brief of the transaction flow, maybe in a couple of minutes. So when user initiate the transactions, he create a signed proposal. But what exactly the signed proposal it means? Signed proposal is nothing but whatever the information we enclose as a transactions. So it will have what kind of channel he is going to invoke, what kind of chain code he is going to invoke, and different parameter that chain code is getting as in the method. So this is the basic information. So when user create the signed up proposal, first of all, he just uh, he just create a signature actually. First create the hash, and after that, that hash get encrypted with his private key, and finally that will be put as the digital signature actually. And digital signature plus original request. So that is combiningly called as signed proposal. Okay, signed proposal, and that gets sent to the endorsing peers. So in this way, they are first hashing the proposal and encrypting with the private keys. So the same thing, like public key, private key. There are a lot of algorithm, but I will let you know exactly the name of that particular method. Uh, if I'm not wrong, RSA, I think they are using internally for signing the proposal using private key, and at the endorsing phase again it gets decrypted and validated. Uh, and just check like whether that user is authorized to perform the transactions, whether he has sufficient permissions and everything, just check and finally endorse the transaction. Is that answer the question?
I think,
Or
one part I would like to add is, it uses ECDSA as, the encryption mechanism, right? That's the encryption logic that, is being used. And yeah,
yeah,
okay.
internally, yes, I could recall now. Yeah, ECDSA algorithm is used for
More
internally.
precisely, we can say SH256.
That's a hashing actually, but encryption, I think the question was related to encryption. I mean, that's combiningly get used. First hash and convert that into the signature. And this is throughout the application. It's not blockchain concept. It's a general, like everywhere in the general communication. When we are hitting google.com, how the communication happens. This TLS communication is happening using those public and the private key only.
Hmm.
The same way in Hyperledger Fabric, we're using very broadly the signature creation and the validation.
Okay.
So it's, ECDSA and ED25519 is the, the encryption key encryption that is being used. Ecliptic, DSA is being used
Yes, yeah.
for
Yeah.
encryption.
Okay. There is a general question, not asked by any current participant, but in general, if anybody who does not have any technical background. So there are two kinds of technical background. One is somebody who has engineering degree, not the computer science specific, and second one is who is not at all related with engineering. So what are the opportunities for those people to inside the Hyperledger Foundation or Hyperledger or enterprise grade blockchain in general? Kamlesh and Vikram.
So you are meaning in this blockchain ecosystem, what is it that they can do and how, they can do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so essentially for them, I would say there are, when we do blockchain, we tend to stick to blockchain and talk about blockchain, but it's not the only thing that, happens, because when you are implementing any blockchain solution, it's like, any other traditional project where, one technology is blockchain, but there are so many other technologies that are involved into it. And even, beyond technology, if we are not talking about technology at all, you would have other roles. Specifically, you would need, business analysts or, blockchain analysts. Those analysts, understand, are the ones who understand the customer's problem statement and define them into a way so that, okay, what is it that blockchain can do and what blockchain can help, right? You need to have a bridge between a technical team and the, business user, because they both speak different languages. So that is where, the business analysts, they act as that bridge, right? So that's one. Then you would of course have your, testing teams, working on, testing those solutions. Although, when it comes to blockchain based solutions, testing is a bit different, right? Because it is not traditional centralized application. You have to have a different mindset. So that is where, it also becomes some bit different. You need to have that blockchain background to be able to, understand that what is required and how to execute it, right? And of course, then there are other roles, project management and, Scrum Master and all those roles. So they are also always involved when we do blockchain-based solutions.
Yeah, and I think there is a marketing community architect. So if you see the many startup or IT companies, they are using maybe let's say LinkedIn marketing or maybe influencer or maybe anyone who just understand the basic thing, but they're not doing technical work. So leading the communities, leading the projects, or maybe educating or awareness about the technology out there, whether even they are not technical.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. This makes sense to many people who do not have the technical background. Okay, so there are few questions related to the course which we are going to start with Pawan. So what are the expected timelines?
Okay, so total overall course length, I mean, we'll try to cover within a 4 to 5 hours. And it's not something we are going to go inside each and every small things. So it's your responsibility as well. Whenever we are taking something, you have to do the exercise after the session. And we will try to cover each and every module. Like there are 6 to 7 modules, front end, API, blockchain network, deployment is also there. Front end is also there. And finally, actually best practices. So these things I will cover in the session, and I will share the code as well as the video as well with you. You guys can just take the advantage, and it would be free. It's not something I'm promoting my course or something, but it would be free. I will be giving.
Mhm.
So I think maybe they're asking about the when we're going to start. So I already replied in the comments. Maybe first week of Saturday, first week of the February we will start.
Okay, so people will get to hear about it in this next week. You will hear
Yeah,
something about this. Okay. And I would like to add that the idea would be that we will spread this in 4 or 5 weeks, every week, or let's say 3 weeks in a particular week, 2 hours or 2 days, so 2 or 3 hours, so that suppose you followed the first day course, you have relevant codes, and you go and do your work, try to implement in the next upcoming 3 or 4 days. And then in the next session, we'll keep 15 or 20 minutes of troubleshooting or giving some feedbacks or answering questions, so that you can also follow along what is being kind of instructed. And this way, it's just like not only the workshop where you are a listener, but you are doing hands-on as well, and you're getting mentored in that process.
yeah. And the only basic thing, anyway, with the agenda we will share as a prerequisite. But I would say basic of the JavaScript, basic of the Docker, and the basic of the shell script. Very basic. Maybe you can just check on the YouTube how it works. Within a couple of hours. You will be able to familiar with this, and that's it. You will be able to understand the full course. I'm sure on that.
Okay, good. So we have last 4 minutes. So let's go to final rounds of thoughts, starting with Kamlesh for 1.5 minutes.
So yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for everyone. So I recommend to join our Hyperledger India weekly call every Thursday 3 p.m. Or even if you want to recommend any different timing, so we also would like to change the time also, because maybe is due to maybe lunchtime on that in that particular period, or maybe working hours, so maybe uh, so that all we can discuss, and happy to you join calls, and also apply for the Hyperledger mentorship program, which is going to be announced soon, maybe February somewhere. So that is a great opportunity.
Vikram?
Yeah, I think I spoke enough. Yeah, so I'm good. But do join us, as Kamlesh mentioned, for our calls, and we look forward to connecting with you, and increasing and taking this community to new heights. Thanks.
Pawan?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, this was, I mean, first session actually I joined, and that was really great experience. And I generally like to contribute to community, and I always doing actually. So yeah, definitely in future as well. I have some plans actually for the new beginners and the intermediate people, so even for the production grade application as well. I will share in the form of video or maybe something. Definitely.
Okay, thank you. So at last thought, thank you everybody for joining, and it was a good session, I believe. It's beneficial for the audience who have joined during the live, and we'll keep doing this activity. I mean, at least we promise that at least once in a month. And if you have any other question or curiosity, just keep commenting, or you can reach out to the Hyperledger India chapter, or join our weekly call at every Thursday at 3 to 4 p.m. and reach out to any one of the people who are connected with Hyperledger India chapter, and we are happy to help you in different ways. And do follow our LinkedIn channel, because this is the place where you'll get a lot of information related with events, activities, not only restricted to the Hyperledger India chapter, but Hyperledger Foundation in general. And there are so many exciting opportunities we are planning, or events we are planning, and you'll hear a lot in upcoming times. So thank you, Kamlesh, Bikram, Pawan, and see you soon in upcoming sessions.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
My
Have a
pleasure.
great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Ravi, for hosting it. You've always been that champion, right? It wouldn't have been
Thank you.
possible without you. Thank you, Ravi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.